Welcome back to the deep dive. We have a stack of sources today that are, well, they're heavy.
Yeah, they really are.
And I don't just mean difficult to read. Actually, the concepts are surprisingly clear. I mean, the implications are just heavy. We're looking at an argument that basically claims we are standing on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah, Cliff. And we're looking over into a completely different era of human history. That's not an exaggeration of what the source material is claiming.
No, not at all.
It is a fascinating
Yeah.
set of materials. Usually when we talk about tech transitions on the show, we're talking about something like, I don't know, moving from a flip phone to a smartphone.
Right.
Or from, a DVD to streaming.
Exactly. Incremental stuff. It's better, it's faster, it's cheaper, but it's still fundamentally the same category of thing.
Precisely. But the core argument in these documents is that we are looking at something closer to the Industrial Revolution. But, and this is the scary part, or maybe the exciting part, depending on how you look at it, it's happening at the speed of software updates. Not over decades, but potentially over a few years.
Okay, so let's get right to the hook. Because the source material pulls no punches. It starts with a premise that it stopped me in my tracks. It basically says, the era of Google is over. And the era of Tesla is just beginning.
It is so provocative, isn't it? Because, like you said earlier, Google feels permanent.
It feels like a utility.
Yeah, it frames the last 20 years as the age of digital data. That was Google's kingdom, their playground.
Okay.
And it argues that the next 100 years will be the age of physical data. And that, the source claims, is Tesla's playground.
Okay, we need to unpack that immediately. I mean, right now. Because when I hear Google is over, my skepticism alarm just rings off the hook. Google feels infinite. I just Googled something 5 minutes before we started recording.
Of course you did. We all did. It does feel infinite. But the source asks you to look past the brand, look past the search bar, and look at how Google actually makes its money. What is the fundamental unit of value that built that trillion-dollar empire?
It's clicks. It's ads. Selling ads against clicks.
Exactly. The click. The source argues that for 2 decades, all massive wealth generation on the internet was about the click. You search, you click a link, you watch a video, you click play, you click an ad. That digital touch point, that was the currency.
A single, weightless digital event.
Yes. But the argument here is that we are shifting fundamentally to a world where motion is money.
Motion is money. That is a phrase I really want to chew on. What does that mean?
It means we are moving from artificial intelligence that lives inside a monitor, an AI that just processes text, pixels, code, to an artificial intelligence that has to, survive in the real world.
Oh, I see.
AI that walks, AI that drives, an AI that has to understand gravity.
Friction.
Friction, mass, velocity, all the messy stuff of reality.
So it's the difference between an AI writing a really beautiful sonnet about a sandwich.
Which is amazing, don't get me wrong.
Oh, it's incredible. But it's the difference between that and an AI actually going into the kitchen, finding the ingredients, slicing the bread, and making the sandwich without burning the house down.
Precisely. That is the chasm.
Yeah.
And the source is very, very firm on this point. The company that masters the data of the physical world, the motion data, that company will inherit the future economy.
And they argue Google can't do that.
They argue Google, for all its power, is trapped behind the glass. They are trapped in the monitor.
And so the claimant for the throne of this new physical world is Tesla.
Yes. And that's really the mission for this deep dive. We need to analyze why. Because the source is absolutely adamant that if you are looking at Tesla and you're just seeing a car company, you are making a fundamental category error.
What's the error?
You're making the same mistake people made when they called Amazon a bookstore back in 1998.
Right. They saw the what, not the how. They saw books, not the global logistics and cloud computing empire being built behind the scenes.
Exactly. The source doesn't call Tesla a car company. They call it a physical AI platform.
Okay, so a physical AI platform.
Correct. So today, we need to explore this whole concept of the edge device. We need to connect the dots between the cars and the humanoid robots Optimus, and then we have to look at the financial picture the source paints.
Which is not subtle.
Not at all. They literally call it a ticket to generational wealth, which is a claim so bold we have an obligation to scrutinize it very, very carefully.
Ticket to generational wealth. I love it when the stakes are high. So let's do this properly. Let's rewind. Let's look at the old king first. Section 1, the data throne, Google versus Tesla.
To understand where we are going, you have to really, really understand how Google won the last war.
The war for the internet.
The war for the internet. For all the marbles. Google became arguably the most powerful entity on Earth by monopolizing the digital world.
Yeah.
And they did it using a very specific tool. Do you know how Google actually works at a really fundamental level?
I mean, I know it involves web crawlers, right? These little software spiders that go out and read everything.
Exactly. Software bots, spiders. They just sent these little pieces of code out to crawl every website, every document, every image, every server they could find. They indexed the entire digital existence of humanity.
So they basically built a map, a card catalog for the internet.
They built a map of human knowledge, but, and here is the critical catch that the source just hammers on, it was a map of a virtual library.
Right.
It's a library of text and pixels. It's information about the world, but it isn't the world itself. It can't touch the world.
This is where the source uses that visual of the glitch. It describes the transition we are in right now as a glitch in the matrix, shifting from a digital screen to a physical road. It's a really powerful image.
It is, because up until now, AI has been disembodied. Take ChatGPT or any of the large language models. They're absolutely incredible. I use them every single day.
Me too.
But they have no body.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot interact with the physical world in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
They can tell you step by step how to change a tire flawlessly.
Right, with perfect instructions.
But they cannot hold the wrench.
It has no hand.
It has no physical agency. The source argues that the next great frontier of value isn't creating better text generation. We've kind of cracked that for the most part.
Yeah.
The next frontier is physical manipulation. It is physical AI.
Okay, but here's my big question, though. Why hasn't Google just done that? I mean, they have all the money in the world. They've got the smartest people. Why can't they just send their crawlers out into the real world?
And that right there is the expert's insight we need to focus on. That is the crux of the entire problem for them. Physical data is infinitely, and I mean infinitely, harder to acquire than digital data.
Why? Because you can't just scrape it.
You cannot write a script to scrape reality.
Right.
You cannot just send a piece of code out to go experience gravity or learn what wet asphalt feels like.
Yeah.
To get physical data, you need a physical presence. You need hardware.
You need something out there in the world.
You need eyes and ears and sensors out there in the rain and in the snow, dealing with potholes and construction zones and, deer jumping out in front of you.
You need a body.
You need a fleet of bodies, millions of them. And this brings us to why the source believes Google is at such a fundamental disadvantage. Google's primary sensors are sitting on servers in nice, cool data centers.
Right.
Tesla's sensors are rolling down the highway at 70 miles per hour in a blizzard.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, the ultimate edge device. This is what the source calls the Tesla vehicle. It's not a car. It's a data collection device or an edge device on wheels.
And this redefinition is absolutely critical to the whole argument. If you look at a Tesla driving down the street and all you see is a sedan, the source argues you are missing the entire picture.
It's a probe. It's a robot gathering information.
Yes, it's a mobile sensing platform.
The source uses that phrase. Data is the 21st century oil. We hear that all the time, right? It's almost a cliche at this point. Data is the new oil. But in this context, it somehow feels different. It feels more literal.
It does, because we are talking about a very specific grade of oil. We aren't talking about, crude text data from a website. We are talking about high-fidelity, real-world video data that is constantly being correlated with physics.
Okay, so let's compare the collection methods directly. Google has the software crawlers. What does Tesla have?
Tesla has millions of vehicles. I think the number is somewhere over 6 million now, and growing fast. Each one is equipped with, 8 cameras, giving a 360-degree view, plus ultrasonics, radar in the older ones, other sensors.
And critically, they are distributed all over the planet.
Globally distributed. So every single time someone drives their Tesla to the grocery store or to drop the kids off at soccer practice, they are, in a very real sense, working for the Tesla data team.
They're a data collection agent.
Yes. They are mapping the world. But it's not just mapping in the sense of, Google Street View. The source emphasizes that these cars are learning the laws of physics.
That sounds incredibly profound, but what does that actually mean in practice? How is a car learning physics?
Well, think about what driving actually is. It's not just staying between two painted lines on a sunny day. That's easy. You could program a Commodore 64 to follow a line.
Right.
Real driving is understanding momentum. It's understanding that on an icy road, your friction coefficient drops to almost nothing, so you have to brake much, much earlier. It's understanding that a truck takes longer to stop than a bicycle.
It's understanding that if a ball rolls into the street,
A child is likely to follow it. Yes.
a child is likely to follow it.
That is anomaly detection combined with physics prediction. You have to predict the future state of multiple physical objects based on their current trajectory and their likely intent.
And we do this intuitively. As humans, we do this without even thinking about it.
We run these complex physics simulations in our head constantly. But teaching a computer to do it, it is one of the hardest math problems in history. And the argument here is that Tesla is solving it by brute force.
With data.
By ingesting billions and billions of miles of real-world driving data to train a single massive neural network.
Now, this brings up another point the source makes a huge deal about, the no-map advantage. This was really interesting to me, because my assumption was always that for a car to drive itself, it needed a perfect GPS-style map.
A very common assumption.
But the source contrasts Tesla's approach with their competitors, specifically Waymo, which is, of course, Google's self-driving project.
Right. And this is the fundamental philosophical battle in autonomous driving. It's the battle between memorization and understanding.
Okay, break that down for me. Memorization versus understanding.
Okay, so most competitors, like Waymo, rely on something called high-definition maps and geofencing.
Geofencing meaning it only works in a specific area.
Exactly. What they do is they go into a city, say Phoenix or San Francisco, and they have special vehicles that scan it down to the millimeter with LiDAR.
Lasers.
Lasers, right. They memorize every curb height, every stop sign location, every single lane marker. It's a huge, detailed 3D blueprint of a small area.
So the car knows exactly where it is at all times because it has a preloaded cheat sheet of the environment.
Yes. The car is basically driving on virtual rails. It's constantly comparing what its sensors see to the perfect map it has in memory. If they match up, it proceeds. If they don't, it gets confused and stops.
That sounds pretty safe, actually. What's the problem with that?
The problem is that the real world isn't static. The world changes. What happens when there's road construction that wasn't there yesterday? What happens when a giant pothole opens up? What happens if it snows and covered all the lane markers that the car is relying on?
The map is wrong. The cheat sheet is useless.
The map is broken. And if your entire system relies on that map being perfect, your system fails. It's fragile. And more importantly, it doesn't scale. You can't HD map the entire planet and keep it updated in real time. It's a logistical nightmare. It's impossible.
Okay, so that's the memorization approach. What's Tesla's approach? The understanding one.
Tesla is betting everything on general-purpose driving, powered primarily by vision, just cameras. They want the car to drive the way a human does.
I see.
Think about it. You don't need a millimeter-accurate laser map of a city you've never visited to be able to drive there, do you?
No, I get in the car and I look out the window.
You look out the window. Why?
Because I understand the principles of driving. I know what a stop sign looks like, even if I've never seen that specific stop sign before. I know what a pedestrian is. I know the general rules.
Exactly. The source highlights that Tesla is teaching the AI the principles of the world, not just the layout of one specific city. It's teaching it the grammar of reality.
It's the difference between memorizing a speech phonetically in a language you don't speak.
Ooh, that's a great analogy.
Versus actually learning the language so you can go anywhere and have a conversation.
That is the perfect analogy. Waymo is memorizing the speech. They can recite it flawlessly in downtown San Francisco.
Yeah.
But you drop them in Mumbai or a rural road in Wyoming, and they're completely silent. They can't speak.
Because it's not on the map.
It's not on the map. Tesla is trying to learn the language.
Yeah.
And once you learn the language of the physical vision, depth, velocity, intent, you can go anywhere. You are not geofenced by a map.
And that language of the physical world, that ability to see and understand and move, that brings us to what was, for me, the biggest aha moment in the entire source material.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Section 3, the brain transplant.
This is where the source describes a shivering realization, a moment where the hair just stands up on your neck.
Yes, the realization that the car and the robot are the same thing.
Same brain, different body. The source argues, very persuasively, that the software powering the car, the FSD or full self-driving neural network, and the software that will power the humanoid robot, Optimus, are the exact same thing.
I think a lot of people struggle with this concept because a car looks absolutely nothing like a person. A car has wheels, it weighs 2 tons, a robot has arms and legs, but the source just cuts through that and says, a car is just a robot with wheels. Optimus is just a robot with legs.
Let's break it down functionally. Forget what they look like.
Yeah.
What does the car's AI actually do?
Okay.
It takes in visual data through cameras. It builds a 3D model of the world around it. It identifies and labels objects. That is a tree, that is a pedestrian, that's a motorcycle.
Right.
Then it plans a safe path through that 3D space. And finally, it sends signals to actuators, the steering wheel, the brakes, the accelerator, to execute that path and move through space without hitting anything.
Okay, that's the car. Now, what about the robot?
What does the robot do? It takes in visual data through cameras. It builds a 3D model of the room it's in. It identifies and labels objects. That is a chair. That is a coffee cup. That's a box.
It plans a path.
It plans a path around the chair to the box. And then it sends signals to its actuators, its arms, its legs, its fingers, to execute that path and manipulate objects.
So the fundamental problem navigating 3D physical space based on visual input is identical.
It is the exact same core problem. This is a concept in AI called transfer learning. The source argues that if the AI can identify an object, predict its movement, and execute a path around it at 60 miles per hour on a chaotic highway,
then walking around a coffee table to go fold some laundry should be, comparatively, a piece of cake.
Theoretically, yes. The spatial reasoning skills, the object recognition, the path planning, it all transfers over. And this is why the source claims Tesla is so far ahead of everyone else in humanoid robotics.
They're not starting from scratch.
They are not starting from scratch with the robot. They are effectively porting the driver brain, which has been trained on billions of miles of the most complex edge cases imaginable, into the walker body.
It's like they've been training an Olympic athlete in the world's most advanced driving simulator for 10 years. And now they're just giving him a pair of running shoes and telling him to walk around the house.
And that athlete has practiced for billions and billions of miles. Think about the other robotics companies like Boston Dynamics. They have these amazing robots that can do backflips and dance.
They're incredible to watch.
They're mechanically brilliant, but they are programmed. They're scripted. They are following a routine. They don't have a generalized brain that understands the world visually. They can't just walk into a room they've never seen and figure out how to tidy it up.
They're following the HD map, to use our earlier analogy.
Yeah.
They're reciting the memorized speech.
A perfect way to put it. They are phenomenal gymnasts, but they can't have a conversation.
Let's talk about the infrastructure behind all this. Because processing billions of miles of video data, that sounds computationally expensive.
An understatement, yeah.
The source brings up Dojo.
Yes, you have to mention Dojo. It is Tesla's custom-built supercomputer. It was designed from the ground up for one task and one task only, processing massive amounts of video data to train their neural network.
And the source has a pretty memorable line about the scale of this. It says, Google's 20 years of text data looks like pocket change compared to what Tesla is collecting.
Let's just think about the data density for a second. Google indexed text. Text is tiny. You can store the entire Library of Congress on a single hard drive you buy at Best Buy. It's nothing.
Okay.
But Tesla is ingesting high-definition video from millions of cameras, 247. That is heavy data, petabytes upon petabytes of it.
And it's not just the video, right? The crucial part is that it's video correlated with the control inputs. It's, I saw this and therefore I did that.
Correct. It is video plus intent. The light turned green, so the human pressed the accelerator. A car cut me off, so the human slammed on the brakes. All of this flows back to Dojo to train the neural network. The source argues that this creates a data moat that is now virtually uncrossable.
Because even if a competitor like Apple or Google wanted to catch up, they don't have the fleet.
They don't have the millions of edge devices out there on the road collecting the training data. They could spend $100 billion on a supercomputer, but what data are they going to feed it? They're years, maybe a decade, behind on data collection.
So, okay, we have the edge device, which is the car. We have the brain, which is the FSD neural net. We have the new body, which is Optimus. Now let's talk about the money. Because the source gets very, very specific about the financial implications.
Yes, it does.
Section 4, the market explosion.
And this is where the numbers start to get truly staggering, almost hard to comprehend.
Yeah.
The source compares the total addressable markets, or the TAM, for these different technologies.
We usually think of the smartphone as the ultimate consumer product, right? It defined the last decade. Everyone has one.
Absolutely. Billions of units. Roughly one per person on the planet. That was the ceiling for the last big tech cycle.
Okay, then there's cars.
Also billions of units, but a different distribution. Usually one or two per household in developed countries. It's a huge market, obviously, in terms of total revenue. Trillions of dollars.
But then the source brings in the humanoid robot, and the number they put on it is, well, it seems like a typo at first.
tens of billions.
Tens of billions. That just sounds like hyperbole. How do you get to that number?
Well, let's think about it. Is it really hyperbole? First, you have the industrial and commercial uses. Factories alone could employ thousands, maybe millions of robots to replace human labor in dangerous or repetitive tasks.
Okay, so manufacturing, assembly lines.
Construction sites, warehouses, logistics, agriculture, the service industry, any job that requires physical presence and movement is a potential market.
And then you have the home.
Then you have the home. The source's vision is one in every home. Maybe two, maybe more. One to clean and cook, one to do the gardening and the yard work.
So the implication is that the robot market is exponentially larger than the car market and the phone market combined.
That's the argument. Because it's not just a device you use for communication or transportation. It's a device that does work. It generates economic value directly.
It replaces labor costs.
Exactly. It doesn't just consume content, it produces value. And this feeds directly into what the source calls the flywheel effect.
I love a good flywheel. Walk us through the cycle that the source describes.
Okay, so it starts with units sold, whether it's cars or, in the future, robots. Let's use the robot as the example. Tesla starts selling more Optimus units.
Okay, step 1, more units in the field.
Step 2, this means there's more real-world data being collected. Every robot, in every factory, in every home, is sending a constant stream of interaction data back to Dojo. This is how you open this type of jar. This is how you fold a t-shirt.
Okay, more data. Step 3.
The AI becomes smarter and more capable because it has a more diverse and massive training data set. It learns faster.
Step 4.
Because the AI is smarter, the product's value increases. A robot that can only fold laundry is worth, say, $6, but a robot that can fold laundry, cook dinner, and fix a leaky sink is worth $3. Its utility has grown.
And so, step 5, even more units are sold because the product is so much better and can do so much more.
And the cycle repeats, but it accelerates each time. It's a virtuous cycle. The more they sell, the smarter it gets. The smarter it gets, the more they sell. It's an explosion.
The source makes a direct comparison here to Apple's ecosystem.
Yes, the ecosystem monopoly. Apple locked everyone into the iOS ecosystem. Once you got an iPhone, it just made sense to get a Mac, then an Apple Watch. You started using iMessage and FaceTime. It's sticky. It's hard to leave.
And the argument is that Tesla will do the same thing, but for the physical world. They'll lock the world into the physical AI ecosystem.
That's the idea. If Tesla creates the operating system for physical interaction, if their robots are the only ones that know how to open every type of door handle and use every type of tool because they have all the data, then everyone else is just playing catch-up in a world that Tesla defined.
And here is the real kicker that's mentioned in the source. This is the checkmate move. Competitors might eventually have to pay Tesla royalties.
This is the moat argument coming back again, but in its final form. If Ford or GM or some new robot startup simply cannot catch up to the volume of data, and the source argues it's mathematically impossible at this point, their AI simply won't be as safe or as effective.
They won't be able to compete on capability.
So what do? Their only option might be to license the FSD logic, the core brain, from Tesla.
Just like how PC manufacturers have to pay Microsoft for a license to use Windows on their computers.
Exactly that. Tesla stops being just a product company and becomes the operating system for the entire physical world.
They're not just selling cars or robots anymore.
They're taxing movement itself.
Wow. Okay, so what happens when this actually works? Let's follow this logic to its conclusion. Section 5. The economic endgame. The source gets a little bit sci-fi here, but it's all grounded in economic theory.
It does feel like sci-fi, but it's a logical extrapolation. We are talking about the potential death of labor costs as we know them.
The source paints these pictures of, factories on Mars where there's no land cost, or factories on Earth where the cost of labor trends towards zero because Optimus bots are doing all the work.
I mean, think about it. If you can remove the cost of human labor from the equation of producing goods, what happens to the cost of those goods?
It should plummet.
It should logically plummet toward the cost of the raw materials and the energy required to make them.
And productivity just explodes.
It goes vertical.
Yeah.
When your labor force is robotic, it doesn't sleep. It doesn't need breaks. It doesn't get injured or file for workers' comp. It works 24/7, 365. That level of productivity creates what the source calls unimaginable value. We're talking about a potential economy of abundance.
But this immediately brings up a very scary, very important question. If robots do all the work, how do humans make money? If my job is taken by an Optimus bot that costs, I don't know, $2 an hour, run on electricity, what do I do? How do I feed my family?
This is a critical point in the source's argument, and it's a shift in how we think about economics. It changes the entire mechanism of wealth distribution.
The source has a very direct quote. It says, labor is done by robots. Humans receive wealth distribution through stocks.
Right. For all of human history, the primary way to earn a living was to trade your time for money. You worked a job.
The labor for wages contract.
Yes. In this future scenario the source describes, your ability to trade your time for money diminishes because a robot can do it cheaper and more efficiently. So the only way to participate in that massive economic upside is through ownership. Yes. Owning the companies that own the robots. Owning a piece of the means of production. The investment thesis presented here is that owning Tesla stock, for instance, isn't just a bet on a car company. It's effectively owning a slice of the means of production for this entire future economy.
That is a very heavy concept. It's not just buying a stock hoping it goes up 10% next year. It's buying insurance against the obsolescence of your own labor.
That is exactly how the source frames it. It's a hedge. If this robot revolution happens, you want to own a piece of the robots. If it doesn't, well, you still own a piece of a very successful car and energy company.
So we're approaching the end of our deep dive here, and I want to try and summarize the final verdict from the source materials.
The core warning is actually very simple. If you are still viewing Tesla as just an EV company, you are making a profound mistake. It is like viewing the early internet as just a digital library for academics.
You're missing the platform potential. You're missing the Amazon, the Facebook, the Netflix that will eventually be built on top of that underlying internet.
Exactly. And in this case, the source argues you are missing the potential of the physical AI platform that will be built on top of Tesla's foundation of data.
The source really reiterates the urgency. They have a line that says something like, the current stock price reflects less than 1% of the potential future value.
That is a massive, massive claim. It essentially suggests that the market has priced in the car business and maybe a little of the energy business, but it has not priced in the robot business or the AI monopoly business at all.
So let's wrap up with a provocative thought for you, our listeners. The source leaves us with a pretty direct question. Will you regret not buying in, or will you ride the wave of the physical AI era?
It's the ultimate FOMO question, isn't it? Fear of missing out. But I want to add one final layer to that, if I may.
Please, go for it.
If physical data is the new oil, as the source repeatedly suggests, I think we should ask ourselves where we are in that timeline. We aren't at the modern gas station yet, with clean pumps and credit card readers.
Okay.
I think we are standing in a muddy field in Texas in the year 1901. Exactly. The Lucas gusher just blew. It's messy. It's chaotic. It's shooting black sludge 100 feet into the air. And most people are looking at it with skepticism. They're saying, what are we going to do with all this smelly black sludge? Horses work just fine.
I don't need gasoline. I have hay.
Precisely. They see a mess. They don't see the freeways and the airplanes and the entire 20th century that's about to be built on top of that gusher.
Yeah.
The source argues we are at that messy, early, chaotic beginning of the physical AI era. The data is just starting to flow.
So the question for the listener is, do you see the sludge or do you see the fuel that powers the next century?
That's the question.
That is a fantastic place to leave it. From clicks to motion, from Google to Tesla, it's a brave new world. Thanks for diving in with us.
It's always a pleasure.
We'll see you on the next Deep Dive. Stay curious.